Yeah, so maybe I'll reiterate that um, even though we would love to approach awakening in a scientific way where it's repeatable and applicable to everyone, very observable, we kind of get into vague territory with the nature of mind. It's verifiable, but very difficult to verify if you haven't seen it. So this does present an issue. But those who have seen it, they know each other. So that. So we use these, limited linguistics and various terminologies to speak about something beyond the intellect. As we're intellectualizing, there must be a cognitive basis for that intellectualization. It's happening somewhere. All that thinking, 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 where's it happening? Yes. But nowhere is infused with, Maya said nowhere, but yes, that's infused with pure presence, with this cognizance. So nowhere is permeated by cognizance, a knowingness. We know we're thinking, thinking, thinking because of this basis of our mind. It's called Shi. In Tibetan, I mentioned it many times. It translates as the basis or the ground in some translations. And so we're not confined into our intellect, which of course we've done the numbers. We only have less than 100,000 thoughts per day. We know less than 100,000 words, average person. We don't have many concepts to um, get at this. So, concepts, terminology, all that stuff is useful, but we have to depend on our seeing itself outside of the intellect. So, we recognize this awareness, this awakened mind, this awakened state, and then familiarize with it, this luminous cognizance, clear light mind. And then once you familiarize with it, you can release into it, surrender into this pure presence because you're not in your thoughts anymore. You're not even in your body anymore. You're in the awareness that permeates all that. Very simple, right? Everybody understand. I, I feel like I'm slightly beating a dead horse here. So I'm just, oh, money, pay me home to the poor horsey. All right, well, let's just get back into the text. I gave you roundabout kind of pointing out what this is all about. It is a universal truth. Dzogchen is the great perfection. It's found in many religions and many paths, and there are just many different ways to get to it. And those are the vehicles, the approaches, the praxis, right? So, of course, you may be exposed to that with the Tao or the, um, you know, even Christian mysticism, the unknowingness of divinity. There may be so many endless, countless ways to reach Dzogchen. And then beings who don't even appear spiritual, they're also heading towards Dzogchen or never even left Dzogchen. They're just kind of running in the corner, like when you don't know how to play the video game and your character is just stuck in the corner and you don't know how to get out. He's just walking into the wall. This is what we do, within our own mind, even though it's perfect, we get a little lost. All right, so I'll just try my best to describe the view and give a little explanation where I think it's appropriate, and we'll get back to this. The Way of Abiding, 2008 edition of this Choki Nyingma translation of the great Longchen Treasury, The Way of Abiding. So, ineffability is shown to be the heart essence of what is ultimately meaningful. The root verses state, in the awakened nature of mind, which can neither be affirmed nor denied, timeless awareness without dualistic perception abides as a matter of course. In naked awareness, involving no causality, abides the unique sphere that is neither positive nor negative. In unobstructed awareness, without limit or center, the wholly positive enlightened being of Dharmakaya abides as a matter of course. In enlightenment, self-knowing awareness, the heart essence of ineffability, the total pure and non-referential being of victorious ones is clearly evident. So just to resonate with that second to last line there, it's exactly what I was explaining to you when you get pointing out instructions. You're pointed to the nature of mind. That's your Buddha nature. That's the same Buddha nature that Buddha Shakyamuni saw and abides in still. His energetic display, his body may have changed and done other stuff, displayed itself in various ways according to karmic vision of sentient beings, but the fact is that the same awareness has been there for all these great practitioners, Buddhas, and spiritual masters throughout the ages. So whenever you hear enlightenment, you can think self-knowing awareness. Whenever you hear heart essence, or Ningpo in Tibetan, you can think self-knowing awareness. So we always use this word awareness in the group because we want to access it through our meditations and everything. But actually, that kind of neglects the compassion aspect, the warmth of it. So we want to infuse our awareness with that open-heartedness, which then it's really the heart essence when we have that awareness with a warmth to it. Because the self-grasping has been released into a spacious, non-referential presence, which is within a nexus of connectivity to all sentient beings. So it's not even necessarily aggregated or designated towards any specific beings. It's not necessarily projecting from you or anything like that. It's just space-like warmth infused with knowingness. And so the heart essence of ineffability, the total pure and non-referential, and it says intent, but I changed it to being because sometimes that word intent, it has the implication of doing. To me, it just doesn't sound right in these definitive contexts. So I change it. But that is the being, the intent, the second part of the Eightfold Path. Right intention is more or less right being, because your actions, your speech, your right livelihood, your effortlessness, effort, your concentration, your wisdom is all beingness. All your actions are within that non-referential beingness. So it's very paradoxical. You would think when you pick up a cup that there's still this trichotomy, this subject, action, object happening. But paradoxically so, you can pick up a cup of water within oneness. Otherwise, you would not be able to pick up the water if there was true duality. There would be a wall between you and the water. But thanks to oneness, you can pick up this water and drink it. So the commentary says the very essence of awareness, which is empty yet lucid, and can be neither affirmed nor denied, is beyond the dualism of outer object and inner subject. It is itself free of cause and effect, whether positive or negative. There are no karmic consequences or habitual patterns. And by the way, that's how habitual patterns can exhaust, because you found the part of your mind that isn't subject to habituation. And so it says the very essence of awareness, which is empty. Remember, Maya said it's nowhere, yet it's lucid, yet there's purely present cognizance. So much like we perceive space, space holds all the planets, it holds all the forests, everything, the sun and the moon. And the sun doesn't even burn the space. If we were to try to, remember I said if we were to try to spray some perfume on space, it would not change the smell of space. So just like that, we have this subtle, well, it's all cognizance, even the gross aspects. So our thoughts are lucidity or cognizance. We could say living cognizance or living consciousness. Uh, our emotions are living intelligence, consciousness. Our body is like that. Everything, the empty space, the atoms, the electrons, the neutrons. It's all living. It's alive. And so in that way, we can see the lucidity everywhere. And then it says, therefore, this unique, unobstructed, and wholly positive, enlightened being. This is the unique, unobstructed, and wholly positive, enlightened being. So the great Garuda, soaring in space, states, there's nothing to look for in mind. No one can see its underlying cause. Therefore, it is free of negativity. What purpose could virtue serve here? My own mode has its origins in the very beginning. And that translation seems like it's been through a lot, but okay, we'll just continue. The ultimate meaning of enlightened being is shown to lie in the realization of ineffability. And the root text says, as the natural manifestations of awareness, ineffable phenomenon arise as its unceasing display for those immersed in the genuine nature of illusoriness. They decide that these are ineffable even as they arise, and do not react in the slightest with acceptance or rejection. They abide in a supreme, imperturbable rest, which is carefree, with a deep inner spaciousness. Inner is not the best word right there. Just say with a deep spaciousness. So the commentary, for those immersed in genuine being, who realize all phenomenon to be naturally manifest illusions, whatever appears arises as an ineffable display. So they apply the timeless seal of what is truly meaningful, a state of imperturbable rest. Anybody want to take a guess what timeless seal of a state of imperturbable rest can be referring to? There's a Sanskrit word, right? Well, what we're abiding in awareness, we're resting imperturbably in awareness. We're sealing our experience into awareness. What is that called? It's a great sealing, great seal, great. Yes, my. Maya got it. Very good. I'm putting that out there because it's more inclusive. We can start to think of when we're relaxing, we're not doing anything. We're relaxing into pure presence. This is Mahamudra. And if we could be walking, we could be running. Anything could be happening. So we're still sealed into pure presence. We could be speaking, eating, anything. So the detachment of one thus immersed makes for a more carefree frame of mind than that of ordinary, happy-go-lucky people who are ensnared by their own cleverness, taking everything to be existent or non-existent. I don't take everything to be existent or non-existent, but I probably am ensnared in my own cleverness. We're never going to give you up, samsara. We love you. The Epicureans aimed at a state of ataraxia, ancient Greek for imperturbability. Oh, wow. It's very small, so it says atarxia. Ataraxia. Funny, it says Tara in there. Uh, the Epicureans aimed at the state of ataraxia. Yeah, that's very cool. Yes, this Dzogchen is definitely to be found in many places, especially when you have the code book. You've been introduced to the nature of mind as awareness. You just start to see it in so many places. It's pretty fun, actually. So the great Garuda states, for those who don't know what a Garuda is, it's like this flying lion bird. So one will not transcend the three realms with a mind ensnared by cleverness. Ah, damn. Yes, you were screwed. I thought we were so clever. I guess our cleverness is not good. Oh, Linux, yes. Okay. Well, one will not. So obviously, I'm joking around a little bit. Um, this is. It's funny because it's talking about the detachment of one thus immersed makes for a more carefree mind. It's talking about. I'll just get very specific so that before I make too many jokes, you know what I'm talking about. Um, when you when you're very tight about what you're believing in and what you're thinking about, you're this exists. This is how it is. Then you can get agitated so easy. Just think internet arguments. Think how heated arguments can get because a lot of times we're identifying with that view. And so if you're going to argue with my view, you're arguing against me, who I am. And so you're challenging me. And that's why be careful when you get into it with people because it may seem like you're arguing about a certain subject, but you're actually arguing each other's identities. Or in some cases, maybe if you're more carefree, then that person is defending their identity. That's why politics, religion can be so contentious. These people are defending their identity. If they're wrong, that means that they're screwed. Their whole identity is wrong. And so sometimes it may be helpful just let people be right. Don't be so pedantic about getting the point right. Feel the vibes out. Sometimes people just need to believe that they're right, and we let them speak. We let them let their words enter our teapot. No problem, whatever. So that's the cleverness they're referring to. Like, I got this figured out. You're not going to tell me nothing. It's a tight-minded kind of ensnaring of contraction there, grasping. So whoever relaxes into the uncontrived perceptions of an innocent mind does not dwell in neither samsara or nirvana. Yeah, so be like a baby. Tulku Organ Rinpoche said, be like a baby in a giant temple filled with giant statues and everything. The baby would just sit there, eyes bright open, purely present, and then start crying. "Wah!" Get that baby out of here. I'm trying to do my shamatha meditation. Zen master smacks. All right, never mind. So the failure to realize ineffability is shown to be a flaw found in lower approaches. So here we go. Remember, back in the 14th century, they were calling people fools like it was nothing. So this is the root text here. The immature, fooled by what is ineffable, are like deer pursuing a mirage of water for which they thirst. Since they invest meaning in conventional labels, the language of confusion, they are hampered in their respective philosophies, misconstruing phenomena as having identity. Since the 8 developmental approaches do not avoid the pitfall of ordinary mind, the genuine and ultimate heart essence is not seen. Yeah, Omani Padme Hung. Unfortunately, a lot of folks in Dzogchen, Zen, etc., they get caught up. Wait a minute. They get caught up in these conventional labels here, and this can be a very important reminder for some of us. If you go back up a little tiny bit, it says the immature fooled by what is ineffable. So it's like the moth is fooled by the light. It keeps bouncing off this light, thinking that there's something there, some refuge there. And this is what we do in the appearances of the mind that are empty and they're transient and ever changing, very volatile in that sense. If we're constantly after sense objects and putting our refuge, our happiness into sense objects which are changing and fleeting, well, they're ineffable too. And we're constantly trying to existentialize in our mind. Like I said, it's like we're trying to figure out a Rubik's Cube constantly, trying to figure this life out and what's going on here. You're never going to get it with the limited words and the thoughts that we have. Just release into I don't know, which is ineffability. Ineffable means beyond description, beyond imagination, beyond our labels that we tend to slap on everything. And then we construct this existential conclusion, which is flopping around because it can't hold up. None of our existentialism is going to hold up, and rationale and logic don't even hold up. And that's why in Madhyamaka they break all logic and rationale down to absurdum. And that doesn't negate the fact that we use conventional labels and we have consensus about those labels, but we definitely do not invest in them, so there's no attachment or grasping into them. Even as I speak, and you all may feel this way sometimes, it's the language of confusion. Every word I'm saying is like heretical. It's a fallacy. It's a lie. I'm lying to you right now over and over again, you know, because there's so much awareness. What is awareness? It's just a silly little word that we're using to describe this ineffable pure presence of your mind. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? All this stuff goes out the window with Dzogchen. So, all right, it says here, deer are tormented by mistaking a mirage for water. I guess that happens at Burning Man too. In all these places. It happens to hippies more nowadays than it happens to deer. But similarly, immature people are plagued by phenomena they perceive as objects. And those who follow the 8 lower spiritual approaches are plagued by investing the teachings of their respective approaches with identity. Yeah, so you could be bringing mantras into Dzogchen and swearing up and down that those mantras are doing something. They're just dream language. You could be doing all your yoga and your tumo and slapping your face and rubbing your belly and doing all this tsalung and trokur. And I'm telling you, you could be completely in a coma. and recognize the nature of mind and still get further than doing all those cycles of yoga poses. Awareness is that powerful. Thus, they are all alike in not reaching the essence of ultimate truth. In this regard, personal identity constitutes the ordinary mind's thought process, which is one of arbitrary fixation on dualistic perception and its attendant attachment and aversion. Yeah, this arbitrary fixation, I wouldn't really. I think it's easier to call this or ordinary mind thought process, which is one of um, arbitrary fixations on dualistic perception. That's the act of the ego. They're describing that doing of the conditioned self. And then, yes, the conditioned self always likes something, it's neutral about something, or it doesn't like something. So it always has these three qualities when we invoke our conditioned self. And so we have a habit, we have a pattern of a conditioned self. We've built this up, I would say, over lifetimes in many cases. And that's why that habit of doing that acting as though you're separate from this entire world around you, so that conditioned self, the identity, starts to liberate within awareness. Yeah, so the identity of phenomenon refers to ideas projected by ordinary mind onto what uh, does not exist as objects. That is, all distortions of fixating on various kinds of view, meditation, conduct, and fruition as ends in themselves. See everybody, why I tell you, don't use these if you're truly coming into Dzogchen, right? And you have a guide, you have a sangha, even um, you're really able to saturate yourself in Dzogchen. Um, then stop depending on other stuff. You really got to surrender into Dzogchen, or else you're just going to stagnate for a decade or more. And people are in states of stagnation with Tantra and even other provisional practices. When they talk about the eight lower approaches, everything is in there. Yoga, working with your pranayama. It's all great. Yes, it unties knots. It's awesome. I love yoga. I love Tsalung. I love shamatha meditation. I love mantras. But if you're depending on them for your realization, this is just the facts, okay? According to Longchen, and I would agree that these things will get in your way if you're just worried about your conduct all the time, and um, you're fixated on uh, the enlightenment itself. When you recognize the nature of mind, awareness itself, you're fixated on what that is, or you're trying to own it. Remember the four chukshaks, the fruition, let it be. You got to let the fruition be too. And then all these wrong views, all right? Uh, Studying wrong view in Buddha Dharma is very interesting because you have all these cognitive hindrances that they discuss. So, in these respects, those who are not religious, who hold extreme religious views, or who follow the eight lower approaches, are alike in failing to realize the way of abiding. All right, thank you, Yeshi, and everyone for making this happen once again. A little gathering. I do appreciate you. Yeah, we're just getting through this text on ineffability a little bit further here, so it's very interesting, and I love hearing these primary sources that they cite. It's always so cool. And I know I explain everything. Sometimes we spend just on a few lines, we spend a whole session because they're so interesting. But if you can get the book yourself, like this digital copy or the hard copy, then you can let it impact you too. How is it impacting you? I'm explaining the twilight language a little bit to you and things like that, or how it applies to our view, but don't let that discourage you from soaking it up on your own.